in it now, like it's prescient. A lot of that stuff, a lot of that social commentary is still there. Like the rise of the internet and social media and everyone recording everything with their phones.
Even I mean, the squid, we don't have that exact technology, but we're pretty close.
Yeah.
You know,
It's all like, watch this video of me doing whatever. That's basically trying to say this is what my life is, and I'm trying to share it with you. The social commentary on like police brutality and police overreach, the Black Lives Matter stuff, and you can draw some connection to what this movie was trying to say, and just a society that's kind of had too much of being victimized and treated like garbage by a police force. So there's a lot to unpack in this movie, and it's just heartbreaking to me because I didn't really know when the movie came out. I didn't really understand how much of a bomb this was until I was older and had actually read up on it. But it was a huge failure. It was one of the biggest bombs of the year that it came out.
Well, I want to know, and maybe not to mess up like the flow of your notes or anything, but do you know why this took $42 million to make in the first place?
I think a big part of it was developing the technology to shoot those point of view scenes, which there are many, and some of them pretty elaborate. In the film.
Yeah, they don't seem technical when you're watching the film, but to shoot something like that from a POV was a different...
Yeah, you could probably do it a hell of a lot easier now, but, 25, 26 years ago, that technology did not exist. I think they took a year, even more, to develop the cameras to shoot the point of view shots.
And choreographing all the stunts and everything, yeah.
There's that. I mean, the whole third act of the movie takes place in what is a massive New Year's Eve party in downtown Los Angeles, which reading on Wikipedia said it only cost like $10,000 to put on, but I don't think that number is accurate at all, considering the amount of people and actors and personnel and choreography and camera work that had to be done to shoot a lot of that stuff. I mean, even at the end, when Bassett's running through the crowd and is being chased by the two cops, like, there's so many people.
Yeah, it looks real, for sure, yeah.
So I think that's a big part of the expense. I mean, it's got a couple of really great action set pieces in it. I am gonna guess that that's a big part of why it was expensive. But even for its expense, I mean, 40 million, 42 million at the time in 95 probably is a lot. But compared to like what a lot of movies cost now, it doesn't seem like a whole lot. Like, you make like the 40-year-old virgin for like 42 million now. But to make something like this, a hard R, sci-fi, noir, action film, for that much, that almost seems low.
With some crazy kind of depraved stuff in it.
Yeah.
Too, yeah.
With a pretty heavy-hitting director, with a really big-time, writer and producer on it. Like,
well, this was part of a deal with Cameron's True Lies, right?
With Lightstorm Entertainment, his production company. Yeah, it was. He formed the Lightstorm, and he had a deal with Fox that, like, half of the money would go, or not half, but they would split the money evenly between True Lies and between Strange Days. And I think it was a $100 million deal. And I think 70 was going to go to True Lies, and 30 was going to go to Strange Days. But True Lies ended up costing
70.
I know it ended up costing 120 million altogether to make, and at the time was the most expensive movie ever made, which is a reputation that Cameron has, because I think T2 was the most expensive at the time, and then Titanic became the most expensive at the time. And I may be mistaken, but I believe Avatar became the most expensive movie. Not the biggest blockbuster. Not only that, but the most expensive movie to make at the time that it was made. I think Cameron had, like, his last 4 films were all the most expensive movie ever made at the time that they were made. So, True Lies went to $120 million, and then 42 ended up being what the final cost of Strange Days was. So whatever that deal that he had with Fox, apparently they got him to add, another 35 million or so to make both those movies. True Lies was a huge hit.
Of course.
Strange Days was not, unfortunately. And then, because it's Lightstorm, he's only produced a few other films, and only, I think, 2 others that were not his own movie. Because I think the Solaris remake and Battle Angel are the only 2 other Lightstorm films that aren't James Cameron films.
Really? Just those 2?
I looked up Lightstorm, yeah. Those were the only 2 films.
Interesting.
Or the only 3 films, including Strange Days, that were not James Cameron films.
Done by him.
Yeah. And the shitty thing is that all of those movies, with the exception of Titanic, which was technically Paramount, because Paramount had the domestic distribution, but Solaris is Fox, Battle Angel was Fox, Strange Days was Fox, Avatar is Fox, but Avatar and Titanic are both on Blu-ray. Solaris is not, True Lies is not, Strange Days is definitely not, and it's a bummer. I wish that they would release Blu-rays of those.
Is it some kind of rights thing?
I think it's just James Cameron being picky and wanting to do, a supervised transfer to get the best quality that he can, and he just seems to fuck about too much in the Avatar world that
he's like, let's do 5 sequels.
Yeah, he hasn't made time to go back and put those onto Blu-ray. Same thing with The Abyss, which isn't a Lightstorm, but is, the movie that he made prior to Terminator 2, which is Fox, which is also famously not available on Blu-ray.
I thought, I don't know if it came out already, but I thought that they had put it on HBO Max, and it was the 4K transfer, and that was like a tease for the Blu-ray that's coming or is out.
It's not out yet. I looked up the other day.
Oh, okay.
When my research for this episode, I looked up to see if any of those films were available on Blu-ray. They are not, even though, as we've mentioned and as you just said, like, The Abyss has been on cable in high def. Both True Lies and Strange Days have been on cable in high def. Even Solaris, I was watching Solaris last weekend, is on cable in high def. So there are transfers of those. Even if you just give me like a bare bones Blu-ray, I'll gladly take it. But unfortunately, all those I'm just forced to own on regular DVD for now until the end of time, apparently. But maybe we're getting a little off topic.
Yeah.
Me ranting about the Blu-ray stuff. But yes, this was a Lightstorm Entertainment production. And if I can be perfectly honest, up until maybe 10 days ago, was even starting to question as to whether or not we should do this movie, because it's a movie not a lot of people have seen, and it's even harder for them to see now that we're talking about it, because it's just not streaming anywhere.
Yeah, even if you... it's on Prime, but they've made it unavailable for whatever reason. It's there, but it says it won't allow you to rent it.
I wonder if that's something that comes around every now and then where it will be available to rent.
Apparently, while I was doing my research as well, it was streaming for a long time, and then it was pulled down randomly, and it's never returned anywhere. So,
do you know where it was streaming? On what?
I believe it was Prime.
Prime?
Yeah.
That's a bummer. So I debated whether or not we should do it because it's like, well, no one's going to be able to watch this movie. I mean, I'm lucky enough to own a DVD of it, and I'm also lucky enough that the few times it's been on HBO, I managed to record it to my DVR, and it's just going to permanently stay there until I end up having to get rid of that DVR or something, because I wanted to be able to watch it in high def.
Was that a few years ago, or how long?
I think the date on that was February of 2019.
Oh, okay.
When it was on HBO or Cinemax or something, I managed to record it.
Damn. I wish it was still on Max.
So, but in the end, I was like, nah, fuck it. This is a movie that's severely underrated.
And, like I was telling James, maybe we can put that energy out into the universe in a, for something.
The show has a weird way of kind of connecting somewhere and becoming relevant in some form. I hope so. I wish more people watched this movie and had an appreciation for it. Especially for Bigelow's direction.
Yeah.
Like, this is probably her best directed film.
So good.
So, I asked you earlier, had you ever seen this movie?
From start to finish, no. I've seen clips here and there through the years, but it was like, again, I just never had the opportunity to see it. You know what I mean? And at least in the way it was intended. So you wanted to do it for the show. I was able to find a copy somehow. And
well, that's good. But I always had the backup, whereas I had it on DVD, and I said, I'll bring it over, and either we can watch it or I'll drop it off and leave it for you, because I know I had it on the DVR as well. But that's good that you were able to find the copy.
Yeah. And it's fantastic, man. I was just happy that you picked this, because...
Well, I've mentioned it on the show a few times because I love it that much.
Yeah.
I think it was a rec one time. I know, like, we talked about it before in the course of talking about, like, some female-led action films.
Mm-hmm.
Because Angela Bassett fucking rules in this movie. She's the best thing in it.
Yeah.
As good as Ralph Fiennes is, Angela Bassett is so good in this movie.
She, I feel like she protects him in a lot of the ways, you know what I mean? Where he is, like, somewhat of the damsel in distress, whatever.
And she's always the one that's coming in and saving him.
Yeah. Kicking some serious ass. All the way through. No playing around with her. So good. Yeah, I really loved everything about this. I'm a big 90s fan, everything 90s, and this is mid 90s, and it's always fascinating to go back into that time capsule and kind of see how they imagined the future would be, and how the technology would be. And even though, like you mentioned at the top of the show, it's not too far ahead, but it's ahead enough where there's things happening that definitely weren't available back then, in that in the time that it was made. So it's great. It reminded me a lot of like some like low-key body horror Cronenberg style stuff that's happening with specifically with the technology, and just like just how kind of disgusting humans can be, you know what I mean? Like, even with when they explain why the technology is on the black market and what people want to use this for, it's just like, oh god, you guys are crazy,
Super glad that you liked it, because I mean, this like I said, this is a movie that I love and have loved since I watched it the first time back in 95, which I have to point out again because it's obligatory. We're once again returning to the 1995 well, which we have a few times, which I think is one of the best years in movie history.
Yeah.
I think 99 is probably better recognized because a lot more movies kind of changed the game in 99. But I mean, 1995 was stacked with so many classic films. And we've talked about Seven on this show. We've talked about Get Shorty, which is another personal favorite of mine. We're now talking about Strange Days. but like Casino, Heat, 12 Monkeys,